All right, guys. Welcome to Truth Hertz Radio. Hope you all had a good week. Weather was kind of lousy up here in New England. Rained the whole time. The sun didn't come out finally until yesterday. Literally the whole week was cloudy and dreary and drizzly, but at least it was warm, no snow. Anyway, got a great guest lined up for today. He might be with us the whole hour. He's not sure yet, but his name is Don Phau. He's with the Lyndon LaRouche PAC group, Political Action Committee group. They've been busy over the years fighting against all kinds of crime and corruption in Washington. Today he's here to discuss the economic debacle going on, that has been going on since last year, of course, before little Bushy boy left office. And now, of course, the current fiasco in Dubai. So he'll be on to discuss that in detail. Having a little problem calling him here through the Oracle line, so during the upcoming break, I'm going to have him call in to me. Anyway, but it's going to be an interesting show, very informative, so stick around, guys. You're not going to want to miss that. Before we go to break, just wanted to mention once again, if anybody's interested in reading any of my books, Piercing the Fog of 9/11, or The New World Disorder, or An Alternative View of the Distant Past, a fascinating tour through ancient history, not only human history, but Earth history, from an alternative viewpoint. Everything you hear in the show is from an alternative viewpoint, of course. Everything on this network, in fact, is an alternative viewpoint. Alternative from the lies that we get from mainstream media, mainstream academia. Anyway, if you're interested in reading any of these books, along with a few others I've got available on Amazon.com, just go to Amazon, and when there, type in my name, Charles Giuliani, that's Giuliani, and you'll see my titles pop up. And, if money's an obstacle, folks, don't hesitate to email me at truthhertzradio@AOL.com, spell Hertz, Hertz, like megahertz. Again, that's truthhertzradio@AOL.com. Let me know which titles you're interested in, and I can just send them to you as PDF attachment files, and you can get them that way. I'm not really in this to make money. I just want to get the word out. Share my findings that I've uncovered over the years. I've uncovered some fascinating things, not always pleasant things, but fascinating nonetheless. Things we need to know, things we should know, and in many cases things we must know. But unfortunately, things that most people don't seem to want to know or even care about these days, which is why this country's going down the toilet so rapidly. This nation's become pathetically apathetic, and that had better change and fast, because the boys in Washington are working hard day and night, as I'm sure most of you know, to tear this country to shreds. And unfortunately, they've made a lot of progress in that area. The job, in fact, is almost completed. Anyway, like I said, guys, during the break, I'm hoping to get my guest on here. Had a little technical difficulty trying to call him, but hopefully I'll get that straightened out during the break, and we'll be back with Don Phau. So stick with us, guys. We'll be right back. Okay, guys. Welcome back to Truth Hertz Radio. This is your host, Charles Giuliani. As I said before the break, we have an interesting guest. I did manage to get him on during the break. Had a little trouble there, but it all worked out. So I want to welcome Mr. Don Phau with the LaRouche PAC group, LaRouchePAC.com. And he's going to be talking again about the economic debacle that is and has been going on now for over a year, and it seems to be whipping into high gear now under Obama. Of course, most people in this country are totally oblivious to what's actually happening. We're going to be focusing, of course, on the latest goings-on in Dubai. So with no further ado, let me welcome our guest. Welcome to the show, Don.
Thanks, Charles.
Yeah, great to have you on.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So let's jump right into this. Of course, last year we had the fiasco on Wall Street. This, of course, was all planned ahead of time. All of these things always are. And as a result, first they said the $750 billion bailout. People were angered about that, demonstrating on Wall Street. Little did they know that was only the beginning. We're now up, God only knows, anywhere from 12 to 24 trillion and counting. And now, of course, we're seeing the ripple effect of this all over the world, and now we've got this Dubai thing. It just keeps exploding. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, you have to put this within context. And Mr. LaRouche has said in July of 2007, he gave an international webcast where he said the financial system is finished. It's over. And literally within days, I think it was 2 days, you had a Wall Street crash, then you had Lehman Brothers go, and what you're seeing now, which happened, I guess it's 2 days ago, Thanksgiving. They chose Thanksgiving so that people wouldn't be alerted to the fact that because they were too busy stuffing themselves with turkey, that the system has gone. And what happened in Dubai is not as little to do with this little kingdom, Dubai. Dubai has become the center of international dirty money laundering.
No question.
It's what used to be Hong Kong's role is now became Dubai's role. So what you're looking at with what the $60 billion that they're going to take a holiday. They're going to suspend payment of the $60 billion. It's not $60 billion. This is literally a leak. What they're talking about is a leak in a dam, which we don't know if it's going to go totally on Monday, but the British knew this was going to go on. There were meetings all over on Thursday, on Wednesday. Just to give you a little report on what these guys did on November 25th, which was Wednesday. Sheikh Mohammed of Dubai, he attended meetings. This is Wednesday now. Remember, we heard about this Thursday.
Yeah.
In town, 10 Downing Street, with the Prime Minister Gordon Brown, this Foreign Secretary. He then on Tuesday he met with Queen Elizabeth. Then he spoke at the London Business School. He visited the headquarters of the Conservative Party. So this was all going on Wednesday. And Thursday they announced this. So this was you could say planned out. As Sheikh Mohammed said, this was, quote, carefully planned in advance.
Of course, it always is.
They have a problem. Their system is finished. They have an incompetent as President of the United States, and who is not the person they want as President of the United States or in any leadership role, because the guy is in a fantasy world. He surrounded himself with these behavioral economists, and the guy is like, he plays with dolls. They tell him what happened with, he was not going to attend the December 6th, the global warming, whatever you call it, the Copenhagen meeting.
Yeah.
He's not going to attend that, but he got a call from Queen Elizabeth, one of her assistants, and he changed his plans. He's going.
Bow to the Queen.
Exactly.
Has he been knighted yet? That seems to be the trend, doesn't it?
Well, we knighted him. We knighted him with a Hitler mustache.
Yeah, right.
Right? Your listeners, I'm sure, have seen the big poster or the big picture of Obama with a Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
And
well, maybe when he meets with her, maybe she'll do that then. No, it's just.
I think
go ahead. We have a little bit of a lag here. Go ahead.
I think what she may do is take out her sword, and he may be thinking he's going to be knighted, and he may find
the chopping block. Yeah, right. The
guy isn't.
Go ahead, Don.
The signal that Obama's days are over is an editorial.
Unfortunately, I think our days are over as a whole if we don't wake up to what's going on here. This is by design, and they're just getting warmed up. Okay, folks, we've got a short break. Stick with us. We'll be right back with Lyndon LaRouche. With Don Phau from Lyndon LaRouche's PAC group, LaRouchePAC.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to Truth Hurts Radio. Once again, our guest is Don Phau, not Lyndon LaRouche. Sorry about that. He's from the Lyndon LaRouche.
A little older than
yeah, a little older. Yeah, we were talking before the break about this wonderful Dubai fiasco. You know, just to add a little personal note to this whole thing. Dubai, if you ask me, has been sort of an international Enron fiasco. It's just been a means of sucking people dry on a global scale, just like Enron was doing in this country locally. Getting people to invest, sending over, billions and billions, trillions, who knows how much money. I personally got suckered in. A friend of mine was in on this investment thing that was being run by a bank up in Canada. I don't know if the bank in Canada was personally involved in it or not. Probably not. I think they were probably taken in themselves. But nevertheless, they were offering this investment of a 60% return per month. I mean, why not get in on something like that? I had already seen that further up the ladder, a couple people that got my friends involved had already cashed in on some of their money. You could cash in at any time, of course. And so I had, fortunately I only put $100 in, so I really didn't lose too much. But within, 6 or 7 months, I had almost $5,000 in there. By the end of the first month, you had 160. I put 100 in, 160, 60%, and it just kept snowballing from there. By the end of the year, I was poised to be making, $25,000 on a $100 investment. It all seemed to be going well, and I could have, and I wish I did cash in early on. I would have made out all right. But sure enough, they pulled the rug on the thing back in February, and it's frozen. It's obvious people are never going to get their money back. They had at least 30,000 investors in this one program alone. So I imagine this had been going on with banks all over the world, taking probably several million people, investors, for a ride. Where'd all that money go? Does it just disappear? Of course not. The ones at the top are pocketing it. That's just one example of what's been going on. But you were talking about drug money as well, huh?
Well, first of all, you got to. Some friends of mine, went to Dubai. You have to understand what Dubai is, right? What these guys did. They actually built islands
Right.
And on those islands, they put these huge modern hotels. And some of the people, and they give people rooms. And many of those people who have rooms are the warlords in Afghanistan. This is your center for drug money laundering, and the banks that have gotten put their money in this. You're talking about banks like HSBC, banks like ING. I mean, the biggest British banks right now are poised right now to go under.
Yeah.
Because what they did and what became, when you invested in real estate, I mean, look, the largest buildings in the world are in Dubai.
Yeah, right.
They have restaurants. They built restaurants underwater in big bubbles. It's just talk about blatant perversion. This is what Dubai has become.
Right.
And what you did on a smaller scale is what the big banks did.
Yeah.
Same thing.
On a larger scale. Yeah.
And
yeah.
what happened on last week is they did what you did. Well, okay, I'll take some of my money out, because make some money and pocket it and whatever. So some of the big boys wanted to do that, and Dubai said, "Sorry, we don't have it to pay you."
Yeah, the money isn't there. Sure.
We're freezing it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So right now you have the hole has been made in the dam. We don't know what's going to happen, but you're looking at the dirty money of Afghanistan heroin, opium, Iranian dirty money, Russian mafia money, Saudi dirty money.
Classic Ponzi scheme.
This is the dirty money center of the world.
Right.
And they're in trouble right now. And as we were talking about briefly about this floating mustache, Hitler mustache of Obama, who is not the person they want right now in leadership right now, because they're in big trouble, and they need someone who at least can present some leadership. And very much probably what they need is, not probably, but they need somebody like the leadership that was presented in 1923 in Germany by Adolf Hitler. That's the type of leadership they need. And they have a guy in there who's not up to that. So it looks like, from a signal that they of the New York Times had an editorial on Thursday. That editorial was called Diplomacy 101. And in that editorial, they attacked the Obama administration for not going with the Mideast experts that they had on, like George Mitchell. Instead, they've let Rahm Emanuel run everything. So the editorial, by name, said that Rahm Emanuel has done an incompetent job, that the Mideast is still blowing up. So they went after Rahm Emanuel by name. So it looks like that they decide that they're going to dump Rahm Emanuel. We're saying, and I know I talked to you about the alternative to this,
Which,
right now,
which would be fine by me. I can't stand Rahm Emanuel, but, what are they going to replace him with?
Well, that's
they seem to go from bad to worse.
Well, right now we have to replace all these guys. Geithner. I mean, there've been calls in Congress to dump Geithner.
Yeah.
You had DeFazio of Minnesota. They're calling for the removal of Geithner. A number of other congressmen have done that. Geithner, Summers, now Emanuel. You dump all these guys.
Which, again, is fine, but where were these complaints under the Bush administration? I mean, we had some pretty rotten trash there, too. Why weren't there such cries like we see now with Obama? All right, guys, stick with us. Short break. We'll be right back with Don Phau. All right, guys. Back to Two-Thirds Radio. Our guest today, again, is Don Phau. He's with Lyndon LaRouche's LaRouchePack.com. Talking about our current ever-escalating economic debacle. It's on a global scale. It's unlike anything seen in all of human history. I don't know where you stand on this, Don, but I see this whole thing as actually part of a master plan. I don't think there's any mistakes going on here, any oversights. They want a world economy, a world monetary system, a world government. And what they're doing is raping and pillaging all these big banks, rival banks around the world. They want to crash the whole system so they can come along and introduce the solution to the problem, which will be, in fact, a world currency, a world bank, where everything is all consolidated at the top in the hands of a few. They're deliberately taking the whole system down. They don't care how many millions or even billions of people suffer, rot, and die from this, as long as they get what they want in the end. What do you think?
Well, what they want and what they need is an Adolf Hitler. They need a dictatorship. They need a dictator. Sure. They need fascism right now. I mean, you see what's going on in the United States right now. The fact that we've gotten reports, for example, it's not reported in the media, but you look at the states. You look at what's going on in the cities. For example, in Los Angeles County, which used to be one of the more prosperous areas in the country, there's been, just in 1 year, there's been a 50% increase of people going to food pantries to get food. In the county, 50% of seniors right now are not eating adequately. You have states right now around the country, they can't meet their budget. There's now $500 billion shortfall in states to meet their budget.
Sure.
And then you have look at what Obama's people are doing on the health care. This is straight Nazi. We said, look, when they came out and said that we have to set up a independent advisory board to oversee Medicare, and which is in the Baucus bill, which was agreed upon to be debated last week. Obama's healthcare legislation. There's an independent advisory board which is modeled exactly on Hitler's T4 program that he set up in 1939, which was set up to eliminate lives unworthy to be lived. And that was the name of the bill, basically, in Nazi Germany. And that's exactly what this legislation is. They intend to eliminate people who are elderly, who are ill, children with birth defects. This is Nazi legislation.
Sure.
And people knew that and know that, and they came out in mass at these town meetings in August, you had an average of 100,000 people a week were coming out, ready to lynch their congressmen in these town meetings. You may have seen one of our people, Rachel Brown. She went to Barney Frank's town meeting. It was all over the CNN, and she challenged right to his face Barney Frank, said that your backing of this legislation is Nazi legislation. You're committing the same crimes as Adolf Hitler. And Barney Frank said back to her, "Talking to you." It's hard to imitate Barney Frank. I guess
you gotta get that the lisp in there with the spitting.
Wait, I have to. I don't want to spit all over my table.
Oh, I can't stand that scumbag.
Talking to a dining room. He said, "Talking to you is like talking to a dining room table." So what we did the next day is we went to his office with a dining room table, carrying a dining room table. Rachel Brown has announced she is going to be running in the Democratic primary against Barney Frank. And we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be running against Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. So
people are ready to, these guys are ready to throw these guys out. They're ready to in terms of Obama, we haven't decided, the guy should be out. Whether you do an impeachment is rather a messy, long drawn-out process. It'd be better for him to resign. But certainly, you fire Geithner, Summers, Rahm Emanuel, all these guys around him, and then you put Obama into a padded room and vision. I mean, there are people who we've been speaking to, who are competent people, who can take good advice, and Mr. LaRouche is talking to them. Look, we have to right now. The entire financial system has to be put into bankruptcy reorganization.
Yeah,
the system is bankrupt.
Well, what our politicians are doing us right now is the same thing the German politicians did in the Weimar Republic in the 1920s. Their economy was in a shambles. They knew it. It was just a matter of time before the thing crumbled. And all they were doing was staving off the inevitable collapse, so it didn't happen under their watch, So they kept taking loans, the Dawes plan, the Young plan, just, pumping more money into the economy so it looked like things were okay. And, they gave happy little smiles, and in the media they lied to the German people and had them believing everything's fine, go out and do your Christmas shopping, charge whatever, you know what I mean. When all the while they knew the thing was a mess and, they weren't doing anything to fix it. They were in denial that there was a problem. That's what we're seeing today. All the happy little smiles, the little handshakes on camera. Everything looks fine. Knowing full well, they're not doing anything to fix it. They know the thing's going to collapse. They want it to collapse. By the way, you mentioned about they want to get rid of the elderly, on and on, the sick. Bush's little, remember his Social Security scam plan there that he wanted to hand over to Wall Street for them to, handle that money and invest it. And guess what would have happened to that money with last year's crisis, last year's debacle? That would have been the end of Social Security. That was all by design. They were planning last year's crisis way in advance, and they knew if that money was handed over, the people's Social Security money, that that it would have crashed. They want to get rid of it. They don't want to have a program helping elderly people or handicapped people or whatever. They want to get rid of it and hand it over to their Wall Street buddies. It's obvious.
Well, what we did at that time is we said that exactly what you're saying, that Bush wanted to hand over Social Security to private interests
Yep.
And called for the immediate rejection of this, and raised a firestorm around the country, and they had to drop it because it was obvious to people that they were just stealing of the Social Security.
Yeah.
They tried to do this, and we stopped it. By the way, you should have, if you want to get, we will send you complimentary literature. Mr. Lucia's webcast is coming up, another webcast called The Time Is Now for a Change. It's on December 3rd at 1 p.m. You can hear it on LaRouchePAC.com. It'll also be archived. That's www.LaRouchePAC.com.
That's LAROUC.
Now 1-800.
I was just giving the spelling.
LAROUCHAC, as in Political Action Committee, LaRouchePAC.com.
Right.
And you call 1-800-929-7566. Call it now. Say you heard it. We will send you Mr. Lucia's last webcast literature compliment, and we'll send you the next one. Call 1-800-929-7566.
Excellent.
Send you out Mr. Lucia's webcast.
Tell you what, Don, got to cut to another break. Stick with us, folks. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Welcome back to Truth Hurts Radio. Once again, our guest today is Don Phau. He's from Lyndon LaRouche's group, LaRouchePAC.com. And just before the break, he was sharing with us how you can get some free materials. Of course, I'll give you the opportunity to do that again before the show is over, maybe a couple times if you want. But, getting back to our discussion, this was the plan. You know, they wanted to trash Social Security. That didn't work. So, now we see them trying to trash the whole world economy. And, of course, that began under Bush, but now it's escalating under Obama. It's all by design. You really have to be among the dumbest of the dumb anymore to not see what's going on here. Only those in the know at the very top are benefiting from this, but everybody else is losing. I mean, they're literally taking the entire planet down. This is not something anymore that, just people in this country are getting affected by. When our leaders in Washington make decisions, they're affecting the entire planet. I mean, literally the entire human race. The history of the human race is hanging in the balance, isn't it?
Well, you got 1 billion people in the world right now who are facing. You're facing now a dark age of the entire planet. This is not local. This is not the United States. This is not any one country. You're facing a financial system right now which is on the verge. We're on. You could say we've already gone down the hill. We've taken the first steps going down. This is a planet-wide new dark age which we're now facing.
Yeah.
And when they talk about climate conference in Copenhagen, Helga LaRouche, Lyndon LaRouche's wife, has called for the cancellation of this conference because the purpose of this conference is to implement what Prince Philip said a number of years ago, which is population reduction. Prince Philip, I'm sure many of your listeners have heard,
mm-hmm.
he said that when he dies, he hopes to be reincarnated
as a virus,
as a deadly virus, so he can contribute to the curtailing of the world's population. Now, that's what is behind this Copenhagen climate conference. And Helga writes, for example, that the British organization called the Optimum Population Trust says that one of the best opportunities, this is Helga, for combating global warming consists in preventing birth, because preventing the birth of new, quote, polluters, unquote, would be far cheaper means for preventing climate catastrophe than acquiring renewable energy sources. And according to the study that they said, one could prevent 500 million births and thus 24 billion tons of CO2 over the coming 40 years. So what you do is you make sure there's no births. Now, you have to look at what Obama is doing. Obama really doesn't know what he's doing, but when he proposes, his people propose eliminating mammograms for women under 50 as unessential expenditures. And then, following the same panel, the United States Preventive Services Task Force has called for the elimination of pap smears for testing for things like cervical cancer, for HIV, for sex-related diseases, for women who are 18 years or younger, as unnecessary. When they call for this, that the purpose of this is to eliminate, reduce those women who couldn't bear children. It's straight population reduction.
Right.
And these pap smears, they cost a lot of money. Well, I'm joking, really. It's $6. But they want to eliminate it. So it has nothing to do with, quote, saving money. They want to eliminate the ability of young women to bear children.
Well, that's what was behind the Gardasil, and still is behind the Gardasil fiasco. You know, a lot of these immunizations.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, the Gardasil, that immunization supposedly from cervical cancer, it's been known to cause, amongst other things, to cause sterility in women.
You're dealing with people who are satanic.
Yeah.
They view human beings as animals.
Yeah. And yet they're the animals.
They view them as human beings are cattle. And what you do is when you have a field which can't support your herd of cattle, your crop, what you do is you eliminate the cattle.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is that we're looking right now, this collapse, we're looking at a population going from right now, there are roughly 6.7 billion people on the face of the earth. And Prince Philip, the Queen, they'd be satisfied probably with somewhere under 2 billion people.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 billion.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the Georgia Guidestones, but according to those, they want the population reduced to 500 million worldwide. That's even more scary. Well, going from 6.7 billion to 1 billion.
Yeah. That's scary. I mean, No, you're looking at mass death. You're looking at a dark age, and what happened in the Dark Ages is you had the bankruptcy in the 14th century of the banks, the Bardi and Peruzzi banks in Italy. They went bankrupt, and that bankruptcy spread throughout Europe. And within roughly 50 years, you had the disappearance of something like 50% of cities and towns and villages throughout Europe.
Yeah.
You had the population reduced by about 40%, 30 to 40% through spreading of plague, of disease. That is what we're looking at right now.
Right.
We're looking at a collapse. But there is an alternative, I talked to you, Charles, about it. It's called the LaRouche's four-power solution. And what LaRouche has been proposing, and these other countries are listening. Look, how do you defeat the British Empire? The way you defeat them is you bring together Russia, India, China with the United States. And other countries will join in to set up a new financial system to eliminate. The first thing you do is you eliminate these derivatives. You eliminate these leveraged buyouts, these mortgage-backed securities. You write them off the books. You write off the debt that the United States has taken with this $23 trillion bailout money. You write that off. You don't pay that. What you do is you go back to what was set up under Franklin Roosevelt, called the Glass-Steagall Act, which Larry Summers.
That would have to involve getting rid of the Federal Reserve as well. I'll tell you what, Don, we got to go to a break, but we'll pick up there when we get back. Stick with us, folks. All right, folks. Welcome back to Truth Hurts Radio. We're into the second hour here with Don Phau from LaRouchePAC.com. That's LaRouchePAC, as in Political Action Committee.com. The purpose of politicians, the purpose they're supposed to fill, is to carry out the wishes of the public. The ones who are supposed to be voting them in, they're supposed to carry out the wishes of the public. And when they don't do that, they're supposed to be removed from office. But today what we have, and have had for some time now, is politicians carrying out their own will and using our money, our extorted money, through the fraudulent IRS tax system, to carry out their own agenda, their own wishes. Again, it's an issue of the parasite becoming bigger than the host. It's unbelievable. They're taking all of our money and using it not only to suit their interests, but interests that are, of course, antithetical to our interests. It boggles the mind. I've been studying this for years. I'm very well aware of how the system works, but it still blows my mind that they can get away with this. That so many millions, yea, billions of people are getting sheep herded off the edge of the cliff at the hands of a small handful of scoundrels. And yet, that's exactly how this world works. I don't know, Don. It just blows my mind. Anyway, you were talking before the break about, Lyndon's proposed solution to this economic mess. You remember where you left off?
Yeah. Look, we have to reinstitute the Glass-Steagall Act. The Glass-Steagall Act was set up to protect people's savings. People who put their money into banks, like the commercial banks. It was protected money. It was money that was basically held in trust by that bank. With the elimination of the Glass-Steagall Act, which Larry Summers did in the, I guess about 20 years ago, what you had is the opening up of the commercial banks to become investment banks. So that there is no difference now between whether your bank you're putting your money in is holding that money in trust or is putting that money in the Dubai Sovereign Investment Fund, because the banks can do whatever they want with your money.
Right. And
we have to reinstitute the Glass-Steagall Act. We have to build a firewall between banking that holds your money in trust and between banks that want to go gamble your money. We have to reinstitute that. LaRouche is calling for bringing together of Russia, India, and China to set up a new financial system. You take these derivatives, you take this funny money, these toxic assets, and you put them to one side.
I tell you what, Don, we got another short break, but hold that thought, and we'll pick up then when we get back. Stick with us, folks. All right, guys. Welcome back to Truth Hertz Radio. Our guest again today is Don Phau from LaRouchePac.com. Yeah, banks originally were created to protect our money from thieves. Today, the banks are the thieves. Why anybody would trust their financial future in the hands of corrupt, money-grubbing scoundrels is beyond me, but here we are. What a mess. What a mess. And it's a globally coordinated effort to pillage the planet, and that's exactly what they're doing. The big ones, the big banks. That's all they're after, folks. Although, of course, even on the local level now, even the small banks have gotten in on it with all their little hidden fees and finance, surcharges and whatnot. It's just disgusting what's going on. And people are just putting up with it. Anyway, Don, you mentioned before the break, basically getting together with China, Russia, and, this, of course, presupposes, though, that the leaders of China, Russia, and a future leadership in Washington were all on board and, bent on advancing the interests of their people instead of their own interests. That's the problem. It sounds great. Yeah, let's all get together and boycott the British system and, get rid of derivatives, on and on. But you would have to have politicians that actually wanted this. This is the problem. In this country, in many other countries around the world, politicians don't care about what's good for their people that they're supposed to be serving. So there needs to be an awakening, a revolutionary awakening, not only in this country, but, abroad, where you have politicians that aren't bought and paid for by big money. You there, Don?
Yeah, well, let me say what happened roughly 1 month ago. LaRouche was at a conference in Rhodes, Greece. It was called the Dialogue of Nations. There were about 60 nations there. There were representatives of major nations. There was a discussion, and soon after that meeting, the government of China and Russia, there were meetings between Medvedev and Wang Zhebao of China, and they announced that China is going to be investing hundreds of billions of dollars to industrialize the Siberian area of Russia. Now, Siberia is, I think it's almost bigger than the United States. It's undeveloped. Most of it is under a permafrost, but it has it's the center of raw materials for the world in terms of what's not been developed. Copper, tin, coal. Incredible wealth is in Siberia, but there are no people, virtually no people, and there's no development there. Well, China has a lot of people, and Russia is historically very acute in the knowledge of how to develop areas like the Siberia. We've talked to people at the Vernadsky Institute in Moscow that know how to develop areas like Siberia. They don't have the people and they don't have the money. Well, the Chinese will have agreed to develop it. and this is the largest border in the world, is between China and Russia. So this is beginning of actually what LaRouche said, you have to replace this monetary system. We are under the British imperial monetary system where money determines what is done. And that money, as you know, is controlled by a small number of people. You replace that monetary system with a credit system, which is how the United States was set up. It was set up not as a monetary system. Alexander Hamilton set up a credit system whereby you use the sovereign power of government to invest in actually infrastructure, invest in roads, invest in this, it was railroads. We took our country, which was not developed at the time of the revolution and certainly after, and the government actually set up a national bank, a sovereign national bank controlled by the government, controlled by the voters of people within the government to build. We didn't have a Federal Reserve.
Right.
The Federal Reserve is not a national bank. It's not it's a group of private bankers who determine what our policy is in terms of where investment goes.
In their own interests.
And the Federal Reserve has to be eliminated, canceled.
Yep.
It's illegal. It's
right.
not a bank for the people right now.
Right.
It's controlled by it's part of this British imperial monetary system.
Sure.
And what you have, where you get the power to do that, is with Russia, India, and China, who have most of the people in the world, a good portion of them anyway. It gives you the muscle to defeat this British imperial system, as we see right now. I mean, they're collapsing. They're in trouble. You could see with the Dubai, what's going on with Dubai. That is a dam we don't know, it could be breaking right now. The entire financial system is coming down. The question is, what is it replaced with? And we can set up this four-power agreement. Look, people in this country are angry. They're mad. They came out during the summer by the hundreds of thousands, ready to lynch their politicians. They're ready to. Those people still have, I'm sure, their politician targeted noose sitting in their bedrooms or in the living rooms. Their people are ready to come out. Look, you just see the elections in last November. I mean, you had basically two major elections, which was the governorship of New Jersey and the governorship of Virginia, and those were staunch Democratic, especially New Jersey, a staunch Democratic state. People just threw those guys out, threw those Democrats out. We've had it. If you're an incumbent, your noose with your name on it is sitting in people's living rooms, and you're not going to get elected. They're going to. At this point, the entire Congress is going to be wiped out. The incumbents are not going to be reelected. People know that. I mean, and what we have to do is give people the leadership. People are ready to move. They don't know what to do.
They're finally getting fed up with the system. Yeah, they might not know what lies behind it, but people are absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, we got to cut to a break, but hold that thought. When we get back, we'll pick up from there. Stick with us, folks.
How many...
This is Arnold Schwarzenegger here to ask you to please send me contributions to help pay my back taxes. And if you don't, I will crush your skull. Did you catch that, Don? Now they're claiming he owes $78,000 in back taxes. The IRS is going after him with a vengeance. I don't buy it. It's a bunch of...
Oh, God, I'm horrified. How could they do that to him?
No, but I gotta wonder, are they really... Is this just for public show, though? You know what I mean? I don't buy it. I think it's just a facade, just to make it look like they go after even the big guys. Baloney. I think it's just a public display, or else it's designed to put you in fear. If we can go after Arnold, we'll go after you too. Don't ever default on your taxes, or don't ever try to cheat on your taxes. We'll come after you too if we can go after the Terminator. I don't know. I think they're all in cahoots with each other. What's that?
You have a quiet revolution going on in the country right now.
Sure.
And some people, officials are going to, to keep their jobs, if it means going after the bigger guys, they'll do that. You're going to see over the next month changes that you've never seen before. And let me that's the subject of Mr. LaRouche's webcast on December 3rd, this Thursday. Please, it's at 1 p.m. It's on LaRouchePAC.com. You can hear it live. You can hear it afterwards. It's archived. And you can call our 1-800 number, 1-800-929-7566, and get the last webcast that Mr. LaRouche gave on this. We have pamphlets which we will send you if you're an organizer and want to get them out to your friends. We'll send it to you. We'll send you a bunch to get out to your friends. You should hold meetings. Look, we have to now. The system is gone. It is finished. Now is the time to change things. We can restore this country to what it was. Certainly, you could go back. Look, you look at just what's changed in the last 30 years. And the killing of Kennedy was very, very keen for those people who were that old, because this country really went downhill morally after that killing. It was coming out that people knew that this thing was a targeted assassination. We know that there was a three-squad hit team that actually was from Spain, went across the border from Mexico to hit Kennedy. Kennedy was hit by 3 different directions. And then they set up the Warren Commission to cover the whole thing up.
Sure.
And people accepted it. It was a total cover-up, and that actually affected people to see this country sweep these assassins under the rug. The moral quality of the country has gone downhill as our economy has collapsed, gone downhill.
Doesn't even exist anymore.
Now we can turn things around.
Right.
And
we have
the question right now is leadership. People are ready. Again, you should call 1-800-929-7566. 1-800-929-7566. People have to know their history. The problem in the country, people's knowledge of history goes back about a week or two, right?
If that.
Or maybe the problem, people have to know the history of what this country, look, the people who came over and, from Europe back in the 1600s did not come to the United States to flee. They weren't escaping something. They came with an idea. The idea was they've had it with oligarchy. They had it with lords and ladies and dukes and counts, right? And anybody who's been in Europe knows that this still dominates Europe, an oligarchy.
Sure.
They came to the United States. We set up the Plymouth colony, but the colony that was very successful was the Massachusetts Bay colony, which the Massachusetts Bay got. If you read Benjamin Franklin's on script on money, that this was money that was under the sovereignty of the government, not in the hands of private people. That was how this country was founded, on a credit system, a credit that would go to using our resources, whatever that the money would be. The purpose of the money was to create physical wealth,
without a middleman.
Not simply what you have, and look at the Dubai sovereign investment. It's debt upon debt upon debt upon debt.
Yeah.
How many layers of this thing has? Who knows? Which will I'm sure come out as this dam breaks, and it is breaking. So now is the time to throw out this oligarchy-run imperial monetary system. Scrap the monetary system. Set up a credit system. Now we can do this right now because people, I think, have. People are now losing everything. They're losing their homes. They're
losing their jobs.
Their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Idea of a jobless recovery. People could sit there and listen to that we're in a jobless recovery.
They've got to realize that everything they're being fed is a lie. Then they'll say, oh, that isn't working. Okay, let's try this. People need to realize every proposal they make is a scam. It's just another, we can't jerk you around that way. We'll jerk you this way then. That's really what they're saying. People need to snap out of it. These scoundrels are not operating in our interest. They don't intend to from the word go.
And you have a president who is surrounded by, he probably has a bunch of dolls. And the guy that comes in there and says, oh, this is a nice doll, Mr. President. You can play with this doll today. And he probably just falls. He's surrounded, because the guy, there's nothing in his head, right? And he probably has probably has a room with just mirrors in it, and he just looks at himself. The guy's a total narcissist. LaRouche, back on last August, he said that this guy is a narcissist. This guy is a Nero. He's infatuated with himself. We put the Obama mustache on him, and I'll tell you, we got a lot of heat on this.
And if anybody wants to play dolls with the president, I understand it's pretty easy to get into the White House to do that now. So you can just go over there to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and. What's up with that lax of security thing? What kind of message are they sending with that? Was the Secret Service taking a nap that day? All right, folks, getting a short break coming here. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to Truth Hurts Radio. I guess again today is Don Phau from LaRouchePack.com. Don, you sound like you're pretty hopeful. I hope you're right that we can turn this around. Well, actually, we can turn it around. That's not the question. We could turn it around right now if we could just get the general public on board and educated. That's really the only obstacle. People clearly, though, they're fed up. They are waking up to the reality that something is wrong, but they just don't. From what I can see, they don't seem to be getting it, though. What really is wrong? A lot are, certainly a lot more today than last year before the economic debacle. But do you think they're really getting it, though, what the real problem is? Are they finally realizing that our leaders have no interest whatsoever in improving our lot?
Charles, you see, the problem that people have is that people are now being hit over the head with problems. And everybody thinks, I have this problem. I have that problem. You can't get medical care. You can't get a job. You can't stay in your house. You're being evicted. Right? Yeah. You can't they're finding families now can't feed their children. Yeah. Right? The number of people who've gone are using food stamps. I've got the figures. It's
phenomenal.
Skyrocketed.
Yeah.
You have some states where half the population is on food stamps.
And how many more are subsisting for now on unemployment, which is going to be running out eventually?
Well, right now you have roughly 2/3 of the people who are unemployed don't have any income at all. They run out of unemployment. So, cities are setting up, 10 cities. Look, I'm in Leesburg, Virginia, which is, it's in Loudoun County. It's about 40 miles out of Washington, D.C., right? And Loudoun County is now, I think, declared the highest per capita income county in the country. That's because Loudoun County is near D.C., so you got the people who were working in D.C. Still have they have their government jobs, and there was nevertheless, when you walk down it's called the bike path here. It goes through a little woods, right? And it's in the woods, behind the trees, behind the bushes, are people living in tents.
Wow!
And you have cities right now that which have been forced, in some cases, to set up areas for tent cities.
What's supposed to be the richest country in the world?
And this is, so people think, we have this problem, we have this problem, we have that problem. The problem that we don't have that problem or this problem. We have a problem. We have one problem.
And then you got Goldman Sachs CEOs gorging themselves. I'm sorry, go ahead, Don.
The problem is that the system is collapsed. We have the British imperial monetary system. It's collapsed. We have to create millions of blue-collar jobs, not white-collar jobs. The blue-collar, when you work at a blue-collar, which we used to have, when you worked in a blue-collar industry, you're producing more wealth than you're consuming, physical wealth. Whereas we become a country of people who work are consuming more than they produce. So you obviously have a collapse.
Sure.
And that's what has to be turned around. We have to go back to a system of investment, of credit going to blue-collar work. We should be mass-producing high-speed trains. We should be mass-producing irrigation projects. You have towns and cities in the country where when you turn on your tap, there ain't clean water coming out anymore. You have a collapse of housing. As I said, people living in tents. In this area right now, in where I'm living, if you live in West Virginia, which is not too far from here, right? It's about, if you work in West Virginia and you got to go to D.C. to work, you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours each way in your car sometimes.
Yeah.
Just to commute, because there's no roads, or there's one or two roads to get to it. Think about it. This was, if you look at your history, the idea that you go back to the 50s, of creation of suburbs, where the cities were allowed to rot. People were told, oh, you don't have to live in a city anymore. Move out, and there was massive real estate speculation on the suburbs. You look at, places, Levittown in New York City, right? On Long Island and such, right? People abandoned the cities, everybody was in their nice little house, with their nice little lawns, and creating the situation whereby people spend 2 to 3 hours a day sitting in traffic jams. You talk about family life.
It's nuts.
Who spends spends their time with their families? Where is the mother raising the kids?
We got her out in the workforce too now.
They're in a traffic jam.
Yeah.
You know.
And so the kids are getting raised by government-controlled and regulated schools and daycare centers.
And nobody's raising the kids anymore. So there's not a lot of problems. There's one problem. We have a collapse of society, a collapse of the financial system. And this system has to be replaced, wiped out. It's being wiped out now. The question is what replaces it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we should call the 1-800-929-7566 number and get some of our literature and get it out to your friends. Can I give it out again, Charles?
Sure, absolutely.
The number 1-800-929-7566. Say you heard a LaRouche representative on Charles Guillemy's show.
Giuliani, yeah.
We will send you a literature, and it'll be complimentary. You know, in other words, if you don't worry about paying it, so just get on the phone and call, or get on our website. Twice a day, we have news updates called Off the Cuff on LaRouchePAC.com. So if you don't like your media, if you think NBC and CBS and ABC, maybe they're not telling you the whole story, you should get on LaRouchePAC.com. In the morning and in the evening, we have news updates, and we don't accept money from Bill Gates. Well, he's not giving us any money anyway. But so we're not. The thing about LaRouche, people have heard about, we're not controlled. I mean, they put LaRouche in prison for 5 years on phony, framed-up charges because they wanted to eliminate him. They actually would have liked to kill him, and he had a number of assassination attempts against him.
Sure.
But when that didn't work, what they did is they just slandered him, framed him up on phony charges, and he's now 87 years old, and we've managed in the last, I've been with Mr. LaRouche since 1970.
Wow.
I've attracted to his idea in college.
Almost 40 years.
Is it that long?
Almost, yeah. Wow.
So we've been fighting, and we're still fighting, and we may lose it. In other words, we may lose. We may go into a dark age, and maybe in 2 or 3 generations, people will come out from under the rocks and start anew.
Well, the old saying, I'd rather die fighting than live kissing boots my whole life. Tell you what, Don, we got to go to another break. Stick with us, folks. We'll be right back. All right, folks. We have one more segment here with our guest, Don Phau. Before we continue, Don, I want to give you another opportunity before the show's over to, plug the website, the phone number again for people to call, get some free literature. But I just had to mention this during the break. I was just looking over some headlines. This story just came out. This is breaking news for those of you who have been following the phony 9/11 story. According to flight data provided by the NTSB, National Transportation Standards Bureau, the flight deck door of Flight 77 was never opened during the entire flight the morning of 9/11. Once again, according to the NTSB, the flight deck door was never opened on Flight 77. So the question is, how did the alleged hijackers supposedly gain access to the cockpit in the first place if the door was never open? See, this is the stuff we're dealing with. You mentioned the JFK assassination so-called investigation, the Warren Commission. It was a pack of lies, 26 accompanying volumes of baloney. And so it is with the 9/11. I don't know how closely you followed the 9/11 Commission, Don, but, we were fed another pack of lies there, too. Massive contradictions. This is all we get from our government, just lies. Go ahead.
Charles, LaRouche was on being interviewed on a radio station in Salt Lake City in the morning of 9/11. And when the news hit, he was asked, well, what do you think? And LaRouche right away said, this is an inside job. This is, he said that this is the United States burning down of the Reichstag.
Yeah.
Just as in I guess, when was the burning? 1928, I think. You had actually 33. You had the burning down of the German Parliament. Thank you. The German Parliament building that was, the Nazis blamed the communists for burning down the German
Right.
Parliament.
Hitler actually hired a half-retarded Dutchman to do it.
As was later shown, is that it was the Nazis who actually planned out the whole operation.
Yeah.
And they used that to seize power, to take power in Germany.
Yeah.
And what LaRouche said is 9/11 was our Reichstag.
Yeah.
Down. And you look at what Bush pushed over. I mean, the only reason that Bush was able to do what he did and his whole administration was based on the fact that he was fighting those terrorists who did the 9/11 hijacking, right?
And yet our borders were wide open. How can you possibly be engaged in fighting foreign terrorists when your borders are wide open so foreign terrorists can easily come across? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I can't believe that people have bought into this.
Well, the people have... Our problem right now, Charles, is that the population is being hit over the head. They're losing their jobs. They're losing their homes. They're losing their medical care. You have a population which the media will try now, and they've certainly been doing it, to degrade them, to pervert them.
Yeah.
To get them sidetracked with perverted entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what happened in Germany in the 1920s.
Ancient Rome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what the Romans did with the gladiators. Right? I mean, you have the Colosseum, the games, right? You keep people
to distract them and demoralize them as well. I mean, to degrade their moral standards. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's I think we have to now. It's the job of those people who know that. Look, it doesn't require a lot of people to actually get this country out of the mess it's in. Historically, throughout history, it's always been a small number of people,
right,
who know what to do, who can guide the population.
Yeah.
And I know we're people with Mr. LaRouche, we're a small number of people, Charles. We have little money, but we have and with Mr. under the guidance of Mr. LaRouche, the ideas. We know what to do. He knows what to do. We know how to get this country out of its economic collapse that we're now in.
Right.
Our fight is a population which is being drawn into entertainment, perversion, but if we get those small number of people who will respond to ideas, who are still thinking, we can get this country out of the out of the class right now it's in.
We don't have to go the way of Rome or Nazi Germany, but again, we have to wake people up and get them motivated. So, yeah, once again, Don, go ahead and give the website and the phone number for people to call.
If you call now, 1-800-929-7566. That's 1-800-929-7566. We will send you the latest pamphlet that Mr. LaRouche has produced, and our website, which is LaRouchePAC.com, LaRouchePAC.com. It's run by young people in their 20s, some now a little older in the 30s. They have done a tremendous job. We have twice a day, except Sundays, news updates, and they have really tremendous video shows that they've produced. I think we've had people. I think once you get on it, you're not going to turn to CNN to get your news, because that news is designed to keep you passive. They do not want an active thinking citizenry.
No.
That's our real danger right now. Whether people are passive, people think you can't do anything, they're too big. It doesn't require a lot of people. It requires a small number of people, but are thinking people. Look, if you look at the people who made the American Revolution back in, it was a small number of people, and most of them actually were youth, were young guys.
Right.
And Alexander Hamilton, young guy. Lafayette came over, I think, when he was 17, right? Young guy. And that's the future right now. We have to get young people involved. Look, it's the fight right now is for the future. And if you're in your 20s, you're going to be around another 50 years, and it's your country. So, if anything, you should call in and get this literature and give it to the young people, because it's their country.
Yeah.
It's their world. If you're in your 50s or 60s, you're not going to be around that long. We're all mortal. We're not going to, but immortality is ideas. Ideas never die, especially good ideas. They never die. So, yes, we have these physical bodies, but why we're different than the beasts? An elephant, a bear, will never come up with a new idea, a new technology.
If things are gonna turn around, we have to be the ones to do it, because we're the ones getting shafted. Our politicians aren't getting shafted. They don't care. They're not going to do anything about it. They work for they work for the ones who are doing this to us. They're the ones doing it for them. Anyway, Don, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. But again, folks, go to LaRouchePAC.com or call the toll-free number. You can go in the archives if you missed it and get it later. Definitely give them a call, get some free information, and get out there, folks, and do something about it. Don't be a spectator in this misery that we're seeing unfolding before our eyes. Get out there and do something. Wake people up. Get them motivated.
3 million plus edible food plants that grow on Earth.